Hello, welcome to December 23rd, 2022. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is an exercise that I do every morning, shortly after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles, to work on them, tune them, add to them, or even remove from the list. This is done in order to make sure that I have a good life operating system, so to speak. Good objectives that I'm heading for, and tools to get me there along the way. Help me deal with the unexpected and to plan for what I know might happen or what I think might happen, and to have a structure and a way of reacting to the world. It's now a little bit later than usual. It's 4:38 a.m. I'm about 10 minutes behind schedule. It's a Friday. I get to start work half an hour later than usual on Fridays, so that's okay. Although I typically start on time anyway. It's the nature of my beast to be just, when it comes to work, it's just like, yes sir, and off I go. And even though I have less hours to work on a day like Friday, I still seem to work the same number of hours usually. All right. And good morning, Parker. All right, so the first thing I do is I review the last 24 hours, looking for where I did well and where I failed, or where I nearly stumbled as well. Slept really good, actually. It was a good, solid day at work. I was at the office. Even if it's just an average day, if I'm at the office, I feel better. So I do feel good. I felt good about work, and I got a lot done. It was a good day. I'm kind of caught up. Feeling kind of just settled about work lately. That's a good way to describe it. Settled and in place. Like a machinist at his lathe that he's been working at for years. Knows how to do the job. That's how I'm kind of feeling. Even though I still have a lot to learn, I feel like I can handle it, and I hope that this feeling lasts. All right, what else? Can't really think of too many challenges that I had yesterday. So I guess I'll get on with the creed. I have 7 life objectives as follows. Number 1 is to be always ready to die. Namely, to have my life in a good position with my affairs in order and my life's work with a punctuation mark on the last sentence. It's hard to get there because I'm always working on new stuff, but in terms of the important stuff, mainly my book Going Alone, I think it's done. My relationships are in order, and my affairs are in good shape. Still struggling for another year and a half to get Emily through college, but we'll get there. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my days. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life objectives and principles, namely to maintain the Good Life Creed. And that's what I do right now when I make this video every day. Next is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who reacts well to the days, and reacts well to what happens in those days. I guess you can react to the day itself. Yeah, like how I woke up this morning with kind of an indifferent mood. And I chose to try to change that, kind of take control of the mood of the day, try to realign it with a more positive beat. Next is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. And then to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I'm taking on things within my reach and recognizing what is beyond my reach. I had an interesting moment yesterday in a meeting. where I was talking to somebody and we were talking about that very thing, about what we could and what we could not do. I don't need to give any more details than that. Feeling a little bit like allergies this morning. Okay, next is to do just one. This is the last one. To do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Okay, next are my 33 principles. Number 1 is the principle of war. To always be fighting against what I think is true and what others, and even myself, propose should be held as true. I don't want to onboard things easily, onboard ideas, especially if they're important. Number 2 is the principle of reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. For me, taking a reasonable approach on life is one that I respect and appreciate honesty. I attempt to look at things objectively. I exercise skepticism, and I'm grateful when I discover that I'm wrong. Next is the Homunculus, my simple reminder that I don't think there's anything such as a soul. As such, I don't imagine myself surviving my death. But I do have a consciousness, this thing that's talking to the camera right now. And that I get for as long as I'm conscious. And so I'll cherish that and utilize the opportunity to be conscious. Sitting atop this apparatus of my body in the course of my life. The next principle is called the the Anchorhold. And I kind of sometimes mix that one up with the Homunculus because they kind of go together. They're a twofer. The Anchorhold is the visualization of the home where my consciousness lives, which is within this body of mine, which is subject to rot and decay, die, and then my consciousness will have no more home and will just wink out and be gone. But that'll happen before the death, before the rotting. I could do better with those two, but oh well. Next is the principle called the home of good and evil. I don't think that right and wrong are absolutes in the universe. The closest thing that I can imagine to an absolute right is the seeming mandate that we have within us to find a mate and reproduce. We seem to be driven in that direction. Everything about us is conspiring in that way. It's our one end, seemingly. And that entails a lot. That entails education and career and home and family and spouse and home and all children, all that stuff that goes with that. So it's a lot. It's a significant mandate. But I believe that's the only one that's kind of innate within us. Other than that, we have to decide our purpose. My other two purpose are to be a virtuous man, where I define virtue as doing things to help improve the well-being of others, particularly thinking others, and ourselves too. And then the third purpose is whatever we choose for ourselves, and I choose sharing of my story and message in my book, Going Alone. And I do that by making this video every day. This is my marketing effort. I guess I should plug the book. This book can be bought on Amazon, or you can go to any bookstore and ask for it, and they'll get it. And then you can also get it from my website, goingalone.org. But if you buy it from the website, it takes me a month to send to you, because I order it and then I don't keep them in stock usually, because I like to give people the latest copy, because I make changes. Order it and then illustrate it, sign it, and send it. Have some of those to do this weekend. All right, next is the atomic principle. The suggestion that everything is ultimately based on, it's not a suggestion, it's an observation. that everything is composed of little pieces, atoms and molecules, and we're subject to fall to pieces when we die. Even before then. Pardon me. Ooh, I'm not quite on top of it this morning. I feel like I needed coffee to kick in. Next is the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, including us. And if we can recognize that, we can do better. That's that conversation I was having with a coworker yesterday. We were talking about the nature of some others that we work with. Not gossiping. Strategizing about how to best work together. Recognizing the nature of people. I think it was an effective conversation. And then comes the pirate ride, the suggestion that free will is an illusion, a very convincing one, but an illusion nonetheless. And then the principle of maturity and the sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. We are mature when we remember the past and our successes and failures and have the strength, the fortitude to do better, which yields a life of integrity if we can do that, where our results are in greater alignment with our values and our experience, our wisdom. More alignment with the wisdom, right? Because we've had the strength to live better. Okay, next comes straighten up, Kurt. Get your act together. You can do it. You do it all day at work. You never are like this in front of the camera when I'm in meetings. I'm never scratching my eyes and feeling all tired. I can give this video the same due respect and attendance. It's just that it's so early in the morning and I haven't had any caffeine or walked yet. Next comes the social principle. We need each other. And the sub-principles of diplomacy, justice, conspiracy. Diplomacy because we have to work together to define what justice is in our minds, and then conspire together to make that happen. The next principle is called the principle of family, a new principle added this week. And it has one sub-principle called catalyst. This principle is everything you can imagine. It's a reminder that to build our lives in the direction of creating family units, finding a good spouse to spend our life with, someone who shares our core values at least, to then strive together to build a place somewhere. A home of sorts. Now the home doesn't have to be permanent in one place. The home is more of a state of life between the spouses, and then bringing children into that and raising them accordingly. I add the sub-principle of catalyst to this, because having all of that in place, and especially having the mandate and the necessity to maintain, to build and maintain that, catalyzes our other actions. It makes us better. It makes us determined at school, determined at work, determined to do the groceries, to make dinner, all that stuff. We are fortified, catalyzed, and energized. Otherwise, we might just slack off. So we get more done. We help to build the better state. Family does a lot. It's a very worthwhile thing. Sacred maybe, not really, because sacred implies. Well, I guess it could be. It could be sacred. Sacred implies divinity, and I don't believe in God, but I do believe that the life has mandated us to be successful in reproducing and getting our genes or our alleles into the next generation. And family is an institution in which that happens. And so insofar as it's an institution towards our one seeming mandate, I guess it's sacred in that degree, in that regard. I could add that as a sub-principle. So it's catalyst and sacrosanct. Is that the right word? Sacrosanct? Is that kind of the way to say that? I don't know, I'll have to look it up. Okay, next is the principle of public speaking. To be very careful about how I speak, using good vocabulary, speaking clearly, slowly, and filtering my words through, and my sentences and my constructions through my values. So the sub-principles there are, and I kind of just describe them. Best words, having a good vocabulary and using it well. Not showy, but using it effectively. Best words, eloquence, which comes with practice and modeling, watching how others can speak well. Prudence, again with the filtering our words and what we say through our values. Well, I know I hadn't said that before. I kind of said it before when I talked about having a life of integrity. Was it integrity? Yeah. And then I'm kind of mixing things up, aren't I? And then felicity. I still didn't look it up. I need to make sure I'm using those two words, prudence and felicity, correctly. I know I've got prudence right, but I think felicity is more like filtering through the emotions, so that what we say kind of expresses our emotions. We're not necessarily unduly hiding them. I think I'm using that right. I'll have to look it up. Remember to do that, Kurt. Note to self. And then finally, rumor and gossip, which are two negatives. I try to avoid doing those at all costs, and I'm pretty good at it. It's pretty hard to get me to talk about other people behind their backs. Not that anybody tries, but we fall into it. It's kind of like a fun thing that people do. It's like almost like entertainment. Okay, next is after public speaking comes temperance, which is our ability to control our consumption of things. And I'm feeling the coffee just kick in all of a sudden. And then after temperance comes life will not go well. Things are going to be tough. Followed by the principle called the horror show. Sometimes life will be horrific. Then that which must be borne, that's something we have to bear. We have to bear the fact that life will be difficult and horrific at times. And then the Feast of Offal, a reminder to not throw out my upset and excess on others. Then comes, after that, I feel like I'm going to stumble here. Is it distraction? I think it is. Two principles that go together. Distraction, followed by agency and the great indifference. Distraction is what we do to not have to attend to the hard stuff in life. We keep ourselves busy with television and work and hobbies and family and religion and all, etc. All the while, so we don't have to see the great emptiness of the universe and the responsibility that implies upon each of us to take control of our lives. Next comes, I think I'm going to stumble here. Here comes a dog. Temperance, okay. I just did distraction, agency, and the great indifference. The best seat in the house. To be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing, all the while striving for better. It's an interesting thing to do to balance while stepping forward. That's not a good way to describe it. It's like being at peace while making a better world. That's a better way to describe it. Still, it doesn't quite hit the mark. I'll work on it. Next comes 4 that go together. This is the Restless Man, this anxiousness that we sometimes feel when we're young towards driving us towards something else, some adventure in life. Followed by the Path of Wildness, which is what we do when we step onto that path towards adventure. We get on the Path of Wildness. And then the Great Life Adventure is what we get when we go on the adventure and then come back with something to show for it. And then after that, after the Great Life Adventure, comes the risk of avoiding risk. If we do find that we are a restless man or woman in our youth, and we don't engage on having that great life adventure, stepping upon a path of wildness, there may be a price to pay later in life when we feel like we missed something. And we did. and you can't get it back. You got to do it when you're young. You can do it later, but it's not quite the same. It's like eating leftovers. It can kind of be satisfying, I guess. It's still not the same. You need that great life adventure in the right season of life. So these things are not absolutes, right? There's lots of variance here, variability, but that's generally speaking the case. Likewise, it's easy, conversely, to spend too much time focusing on the adventure and not enough time on building, getting an education, starting a career, finding a spouse and a home, and building a home and a family. That's important too, very important. In fact, it's probably our one absolute mandate. So if we just spend our time on the other thing, then we might end up alone in the end, without a family, and without having fulfilled that particular mandate. That's difficult too. Both paths can be fine and satisfying, but it's nice if we can find a little middle ground between, right? Have the adventure and the family. And that's possible too, but it takes work. Mostly it takes finding the right partner. Again, someone who shares our core values. That's the key thing. It doesn't matter if we like the same things. They have to have the same core values. And that person has to have an understanding and acceptance and tolerance of who we are, likewise, us of them. In a reasonable manner. Okay. Now, next comes sin and damnation. It's a funny principle for a guy without religion. I don't believe these are sins against God. These are sins against well-being, sins against a better living. And these sins, in my mind, are falsity. It's a sin to be untrue in an unreasonable manner. Credulity. It's a sin to believe things too easily and readily, without due diligence and proper application of skepticism, reason, etc. Faith. It's a sin to believe things just using the fact of the belief as the foundation for it. The belief, it's a circular situation. It really isn't providing a good reason for the belief other than the fact that it comforts us and we want it. It's a sin against reason. Superstition, a categorically identified form of nonsense, if we believe it. What is it? Come on, brain. You can do it. Falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, there it is. So you just have to take a run at it. Believing things because it's a tradition or part of a great canon or how we were raised. These are not good reasons for belief necessarily in themselves. And then authority, believing things because we're impressed by the institution or the eloquence of the person who's proposing something. Or like I said, the institution itself. That's an authority, of sorts. And then superstition and dogma. Gossip and rumor. These are the last two. These are sins as well. All of these things, falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, rumor, and gossip, 8 of them, are sins against better living, sins against well-being, sins against reason, and should be avoided. The consequence of executing any of these sins is damnation in the here and now. The next principle is called complete oblivion. After we're dead, that's the end. There won't be anything left of us to hang around. And no soul to go off elsewhere. Oblivion awaits. And there will be therefore no happy reunion with our loved ones. No chance to reconcile differences and no chance to see justice meted out by some eternal lawgiver. So we have to work for those good things now, with the one chance that we get. The bullseye aim is next. We shoot for the mark, but we usually miss by a greater or lesser degree. Sometimes we hit it, but that's rare. The uphill climb, today finishing stronger than yesterday. even though I'm weaker than yesterday. I like the way that sounds. Because I'm older, I'm weaker. Just step by step. Downward, spiraling down while climbing up. That's another good way to put it, if I do say so myself. Arena and utility is next. Keeping my objectives and principles sharp and ready to use in the application of my life. Wow, that's good. The dregs. Good stuff, though. Okay. Nothing is enough. This is kind of like the most, mystical of my principles. I really haven't really figured out how I'm going to use it. I like the sound of it. It's even got an illustration in the book of a rock with nothing is enough with big letters is inscribed on it. It's kind of a placeholder for empty, being just heard a cat or something outside. It's a placeholder for empty, dealing with our desires, managing our want, and somehow steering the rudder of the ship into the middle of the sea. I like that. I don't know where that came from necessarily, but I like that image. I'll have to work on this. This is a principle that's like, I got the flashlight out. It's exploring time. I'll work on that more. The last principle is the principle of fun. A reminder to have a good time today, to remember the good times of yesterday, and to plan for the good times of tomorrow. So to that end, how will I do that for today? Well, I've got a good solid day of work. I have no meetings today, but I'm going to get caught up on my work. I have a lot of things to do, so that'll be good. I'll take some good walks with the dogs. I'll take that extra half hour that I get to start for the morning, take the dogs on a longer walk this morning. And for yesterday, I had a good time. I visited my niece and nephew and my brother yesterday after work. I dropped off their Christmas presents. I got them each art kits that they can use to do drawing. I'm looking forward to Parker and I are going for a hike on the 29th, and I'm excited for him to take our art kits. Maybe we'll go to, we'll see where we're going to go. I've got some ideas, and we'll do some drawing. And then for the future, well, tonight it's a Friday night with my family. We'll have a nice dinner. Maybe we'll get a pizza or something, maybe. And then have a nice evening. And tomorrow I do my book reading in the morning, and then we'll do our shopping and our house chores, maybe a little Christmas shopping too, last minute. And then on with the day. All right, as for today, otherwise, I think I already covered it. I think I'm ready to wrap this up. Thanks for joining me. Remember to be safe, but not too safe. And with that, my life is done. Take care.